Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And we've got a live stream here tonight and an AMA with Apollo Inu. Matt Johnson joins us. So welcome in, everybody. Real quick, before you get in or before you get comfortable, go ahead and hit the like button so everybody can jump on in and learn more about Apollo and the project they're building. Super impressive would be an understatement here in what they've done here in a short amount of time. So, Matt, thanks so much for taking the time, man. And how you doing?
Great to see you again, Zach.
Definitely, man. Hey, I want to start at the top, just talk about you as kind of like your journey to this point. I think it's really cool. I think investors like hearing the story of, dev people like coming up the ranks and all of your background, because it's pretty interesting, kind of where you've been in business, that kind of brought you here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll save you from the version that my wife rolls her eyes at, which starts back when I was about 8 years old on TRS-80s and writing basic code and things like that. But yeah, just been passionate about engineering and writing code and interactive media pretty much my whole life. Knew what I wanted to do, and had a brief stint in the legal pursuit, but realized that I was more about moving forward than backwards. And I thought technology was really where I needed to land. So back in about the mid 90s, got interested in multimedia development. The web was just starting up kind of to be commercial at that time, and got connected with a bunch of guys here in Dallas that were coming out of college at SMU and were really passionate about, building a business to serve other businesses in that space. So really got into client services side of things, did some project management, but returned to my roots of just writing code and developing things and figuring out how to do the next new thing. So, that went through the early 90s and had a stint in marketing and, running trade shows internationally. And after that, just got the bug again. 2008 rolled around, and like a lot of people, I stood in line for the first iPhone and thought, wow, this is pretty compelling. If Apple ever opens this up for third-party development, this is going to be massive. And me and one of the guys from the web days had the same vision, so we got reconnected and founded a company called Bottle Rocket, which we grew to a pretty good-sized company. It was actually one of the largest app development companies in the world. Servicing brands like NBC, Discovery Channel, TNT, TBS, WWE, Pfizer. We did, tons of Fortune 100 development efforts. I mean, large scale type things like mission critical, transactional type apps. So nothing here in software that was just pretty pictures thrown up on an app. These were highly integrated, very complex apps. So yeah, go ahead if you had a question.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So that experience was awesome. I got excited, like everyone, several years ago, Bitcoin kind of came across my desk and I thought, yeah, it's interesting. We'll see how that evolves. At the time, I was much more passionate about kind of the startings of Oculus Rift and got involved in their Kickstarter. Thought VR was a really interesting concept for some of the experiential and gaming work that I was doing at the time at Bottle Rocket, and decided to spin out kind of a sister company called East Edge Studios, which focused on AR, VR, metaverse type stuff, machine learning, doing a lot of stuff like that. So that company got really built around doing some cool fitness apps with ex-NFL stars, where we did some pretty groundbreaking AR and machine learning stuff, as well as building games for top YouTubers. I think our combined audience in the gaming space is over 60 million. Between all the followers that those YouTube brands have. So that's really what brought me to crypto again, is finding out unique ways after we finished the fitness project of, well, what's the next blue ocean? What's kind of the next great thing that everybody's wanting to get involved in, and found some of these great community, small cap cryptos and some ideas about how people are getting into providing play to earn type things. I thought that fit well with our games that we had developed, right? So Zach and I, who I think you've met before on my team or seen an AMA with, just kind of dived in and started learning Solidity, started learning everything we could about blockchain, started eating the dog food by investing in, tokens like Shiba Inu and Saitama and things like that, to really understand how, not only the technical side of things work, but how the community side of things work. Because for years we had just been building projects for other brands, right? So we got to experience kind of the front end of it, but not really how the rubber met the road. And I think that's what's so great about this experience for us, is we finally get this chance to interact with the community at the base level, and they're amazing. And that's really why I want to do this project. I thought for creators, it's not only about the funding that we're going to be able to provide for them to kick off their dreams, but it's really about where do they get support, where do they get encouragement, what kind of community can we build around them.
Definitely, man. I'm seeing some great questions come in already from the chat. We just want to get through a few more kind of housekeeping things. So I'm going to come right to your question, Kyle. I see it. Chris, I see it. Great questions. So one thing I really like about your vision here, it's easy to understand, right? You hear that all the time. Like, what's the elevator pitch? Like, can I understand it in a sentence or two? And when you read it right here on the website, Apollo Inu is a community run DAO and token to support and fund creative people to achieve their goals. I get it. Right. I think with a lot of these tokens, you have to ask, well, what's the use case? Is it really built to last? So I think that question's answered. But what I want to ask you is why this? Why helping fund creative people to achieve their goals?
Yeah, as you can imagine, over my career, we've hired and worked with and supported and and done a lot with creatives. That's a major part of whether you're talking about user experience, UI, content creation. I've done a lot of gaming work, so I've worked with a ton of 3D artists and creatives on that front. Just have a lot of respect for it. And then I shared the story on the Hilton AMA that you were on several weeks ago about my youngest son, who's just now coming out of college in a few months, and he's a musician, producer, digital audio kind of guy. And it's just tough. I mean, it's tough for him to find who he connects with here locally to collaborate. It's tough for him to find the kinds of jobs that really get him experience right now. I mean, while he works at a sandwich shop and is making money, he'd much rather be working at a studio or connecting with people that can connect him with people. So the passion got driven from a personal story, which was, what's the world I would want to create for my son and the people that are, coming out into the world, into the crypto world, that are maybe not as trustful as the traditional financial system and are looking for new ways to exchange value. That value just isn't crypto. That value is just knowledge, really, through these communities.
Definitely. So I want to hop over and talk about some exchange listings because that's been hot here, and we've got one to talk about really recently. But kind of walk us through what we've got knocked down right now. This is the third that's coming, right?
Well, yeah. So the third one, which will be released on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday with the exchange, deposits will start on Monday, trading on Tuesday morning, Central Time. So that'll be our third within 30 days, or really close, like maybe 1 day off. So that's what I was striving for. So I'm pretty proud that we were able to get 3 top 50 exchanges within 30 days, which was quite a feat when negotiating and figuring out how to fund all these things and getting kind of distribution of the token. Obviously on decentralized exchanges is important for our use case and what we're doing there, but access is just as important. So how do we get it across the world? How do we get people that are interested in participating on an investment level into it? That's where exchanges come in. And, getting these 3 knocked down has also garnered some other interest. And those sleuths that are always looking at our Trello board to figure out what we're doing next have already identified that we're in discussions with one that's more of a due diligence process. It's exchange number 3. And then exchange number 5 came onto the board yesterday, which is actually ranked higher by CoinMarketCap in terms of exchanges than the other 3 are. So kind of moving up the tier there.
And I think we could talk a little bit more, in depth about exchanges. But now that I've pulled up the Trello board, talk to people about this. I thought this was really, really cool. I've never seen this before, but I remember you saying, I think it might have been on Austin's stream that I was joining you guys on, that you had kind of used this before in previous business endeavors and that it worked really well from like an organizational standpoint, but also from a standpoint of like investors can like get a peek behind the curtain and see what the team's working on, which I think is awesome. And I think it's really great for investors to see exactly every step of the way as you guys are knocking off milestones.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a tool we've used in software development. It's kind of a light version of agile tools, which we use for actual what they call stories or developing specific features to any software platform. But we thought this was a great public tool to use too, to keep people informed. Like you said, I think it'd be a little bit hypocritical if we said we're going to lean into blockchain and really embrace the idea of working publicly and showing things publicly, and then hide everything under an umbrella in terms of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Now, there's a lot more going on than what's shown here. It's just impossible for us to extract every minute task onto this board, and it would bore everyone to tears. But I think for the most part, this kind of tracks where we're heading. You can see there, I've now created columns to show what we're completing each week.
Mm-hmm.
And what this does is it's just a conversation starter, and it's great in the communities. They could ask questions. They see things come online. What does this mean? It helps sharpen us. It helps refine our messaging to the community, and making sure that we're talking about what they want to. And the next step with this board, I'm really excited about, which is going to be, some community-driven suggestions that everybody can vote on as well. So there's a voting mechanism within Trello. Even on the public viewing side, where people can go in and check off, hey, this is what's most important to me. This is what I can see next. At the end of the day, what we want to do here is build a truly decentralized community. Like, that has some impracticalities at the start, but I think we're trying to do a really good job of being transparent and then having everyone participate, at an integral level as we grow the platform in directions that we didn't even anticipate when we started.
So going back to the exchange side of things, this is the most recent one coming up, xt.com, and they're out of Singapore, right?
Singapore,
but they got centers all over though, right? Tokyo and Seoul and stuff here.
I think they have a big presence in Australia too, as I heard, which was interesting to me when we first started talking to them.
Here's the thing, man. There's so many exchanges out there. Like, it's hard to track them all, but you look at this, it's like 3 million registered users, more than 300,000 monthly active users. I feel like sometimes I forget how global crypto is, right? It's hard to kind of think outside of the area and the exchanges. So I guess my question is, like, why XT? Like, walk us through that process. Like, how many exchanges have you talked with before you come to this conclusion with XT? Like, how are you strategizing that? Like, yeah.
No, that's a good question. So I'd estimate we've talked to about 10 to maybe 12 exchanges that have reached out, and I'm big on that at this stage. We talked before that this is ancillary focus. Product is our primary focus. We really we care about getting the product. Then we're going to market and engage in those strategies. But we also recognize access is just as important, and it's frustrating when people that aren't involved in DeFi or they don't go through the process of moving money from their exchange to something like MetaMask and then going to Uniswap and swapping out. I mean, it's cumbersome, but that's why we got into it. We hope to bring the UX experiences that we've learned over the years on different platforms to this space to help improve that, which I know is the goal of a lot of great tokens in this space as well. So very collaborative on that front. But I think for us, it's more about distribution of the token, decentralization, making sure that it's not just, a US based mindset and token. And we have people all over the world that learn about it and, can get involved in it. And then hopefully at some point they might want to move these to the decentralized wallets or the non-custodial wallets and participate in the use case. I think that's what it is more about, is let's start working around the world and in. But I'll have a discussion with anyone, and if they have a platform that just seems to be somewhat reputable and has, some value in terms of feedback from the community, and I think if you ask the community, they would say, yeah, we want to be on every exchange, but we got to pick and choose because,
right.
I mean, there is a cost to all this, which, we haven't really been hard pressed on, asking for donations from the community. A lot of this is our own internal investors and myself that are helping stand this up, just because we recognize the value in that long term, for sure.
So in terms of the exchanges that you had prior to XT, like what kind of boost did you get? And like, how do you analyze that? Like, do you go in there to do you get stats from Bitmart, or like, how does that process work?
Yeah, so there's a front end, which is either a service or some experienced people or bots that you can engage in to create these market maker type of accounts, where you fund those to be able to establish kind of some parameters around the buying and selling of the token to make sure it doesn't get in crazy ranges and create a nightmare arbitrage scene from the beginning between the different exchanges. Yeah, but I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people still ask a lot of questions in the Telegram and the other socials about, well, why isn't the price changing on one place or on Uniswap when something launches or is a different price on that. And there's just a difference between a liquidity pool that everybody buys and sells against on Uniswap versus an order book, which is individuals buying and selling and trading on a centralized exchange. So we try to point people towards that and educate them. And I think there might even be something in our white paper, if I'm not mistaken, just to kind of help show people the difference for that, because they live in their own ecosystem. Now, we fought very hard, and every exchange that we've listed so far honors our tokenomics. Mm-hmm. So, the 3% reflection that goes back doesn't go to everyone in this case, because the way that they structure their systems, it only goes to holders within their ecosystem, but at least they get it. And 2% goes to a burn wallet, which will be our global burn wallet, which, by the way, is about to hit 8% of circulating supply already removed in a few short months, which is pretty exciting. And then 1%, which will be moved to the DAO. That was the big thing for me, is everyone that's participating on exchange still needs to fund the DAO to be able to support the creatives, right? So yeah, I think looking at each one of them, it's kind of a one-off case in terms of not really what a return on investment is for this stage in the game for us, because we're in this for just such a long haul. We want to see this become just something that benefits all the stakeholders long term. But I think it is important for people that are just familiar with different methods of getting into crypto have access. And as you know, all of them don't come calling at the beginning. Some of them want to see you get established. Some of them want certain metrics to be met in terms of number of holders and certain market caps and things like that. So it just varies. But we're not knocking on any doors here. Again, this is something that if they come calling and they seem to be a right fit, that we'll pursue, but we're focused on product.
I like that. So another milestone was hit today. We just hit 1K members on Discord. This is the tweet. If you haven't checked out our communities yet, join us today. I know the Telegram group, I've been in there. It's super active. What would you say just about the community thus far? I mean, I know you've worked in organizations where, people come together and work together, but how different is this than what you're used to from that side of things?
I'm blown away. Like, just the intelligence and, even when there's people learning, just to say, hey, I'm learning, can you help? And then those people that do know something or have gone through an experience, sometimes it's getting burned and it's bad, but they can protect someone, like they just help each other. And that's what I really hope for when I got into this. It's just like, I want to be a part of a community that just, sees beyond. I mean, everybody wants to make money, of course, but that sees beyond that in terms of grand purpose will lead to much more satisfaction than, immediate monetary gain. And I try to set that standard in these communities to start with. And like what I've heard from, especially the Telegram, honestly, that's where I spend most of my time. I need to get better at Discord, which, by the way, next week we are having our first AMA on our Discord.
Oh, nice.
So, we'll send out some information about that, but excited about connecting with that group as well. But yeah, they're like, it's chill here. Like Telegram, and I've been in a few Telegrams with other tokens, and it is a barrage, and it's scary, and I have to leave fast. But but I think with ours, it's just like, okay, there's a dip. What does this mean? Let's talk through it. Like how do we do this? And it just, nobody freaks out, and nobody gets hyper when we pump. And I love that. That's what we're looking for, because that shows that the people that are in there that are committed to this project, the community, isn't about the near term. They care about like what happens after we get our product out, and how do we learn from the beta and improve it. It's not going to be perfect, of course. I mean, I've been in software long enough to not blow smoke to anyone that thinks that, we're going to have the ultimate end all be all product, in April when we come out. But, by May and June, will that be 10 times better than what we released in April? I guarantee that it absolutely will be, but that's just the process, right?
Definitely. Speaking about the product, you made an update on your Twitter page, and then over on Trello a couple of days ago. You kind of want to walk us through there. I know everybody can go over to the Trello and read this as well, but maybe just the highlights here of where we're at.
Yeah, from an engineering standpoint, and I'll give a shout out to Zach, my Zach again. Right, he's been absolutely crushing it. We added some more team members over the last couple weeks on the engineering side, which always gets me excited. It's just finding that talent and having them, and the people that we've worked with before, which is even better, that have gotten into the space. We talked about we're getting to the finish line of the alpha, I guess I would call it, which is functionally end to end. The system works as we intended. We did this creative thing to help people save on gas by doing an option where you could either vote for these creator projects through IPFS, which is kind of some of the data for NFTs in the way that it's stored, but it's completely public and auditable as well. Or they could vote directly to chain if they just choose to, for some reason, want to pay gas. But if you go to our white paper, you can kind of see the graph that's in there that talks about how the voting is going to work. So that full functionality is implemented, and now we're in a phase where it's just going through unit tests, which are basically individualized tests to make sure each component works in its own silo like it should. And then we'll do full integration tests, and then it's polish for the UI and the UX, putting people in front of it before we launch it. Does this communicate well to you? Did you get tripped up? Did you not understand something? Going through those types of things are really important. And then like I said, always said, mid to late April on that commitment, it still stands. We'll start giving away money. Now the parameters on, do we want to open that up completely before we fully test our funding algorithms and stuff like that? We might contain it a little bit for the first couple of weeks. Still trying to determine that, but yeah, there'll be creators being awarded funds, by the end of April, which we're really excited about.
That's perfect, because Kyle F had a question, so we can kind of start,
Sure.
bringing these questions in. So if you guys do have questions, drop them in there, and we'll definitely get to as many as possible. So this kind of goes right to the point you were just making there. How is the prize money going to be determined? Is the amount pooled every week? And if so, how is the Apollo that's been pooled so far be distributed to winners? You were kind of hitting on that already.
Yeah. So no, we're not doing based on activity each week in terms of the market determining the prize. It's more about the engagement of the voters. Like how many people participated in the vote will be a percentage of the DAO that gets carved out and distributed to the winners. But that's the algorithm that we're kind of refining right now, and we'll go through the beta test as well. So we want to make sure that's balanced and fair, right? I saw a question earlier asking about how much is in the DAO right now. Actually, I'll pull that up in real time while I'm talking. But
yeah, here it is from Chris.
Yeah. So DAO 1.3. We have about $4 million in the DAO already. So we've collected quite a bit to give away. So
that's
pretty
awesome.
Excited about, the prizes. But remember, the long-term vision for this is not, we're not going to drop $4 million on the first winner here. It's going to be
right.
Kind of this idea of like, we'll carve out a certain amount that we think can make an impact for the types of projects that are being submitted. And then we're going to start to scale to different genres of contests that run concurrently. Mm-hmm. So there might be one contest running for musicians, and then maybe even strayed further from that, right? So there might be EDM and rap and things like that underneath music, as well as, maybe creative writing and art. That's the grand vision here. So
gotcha.
What's being escrowed in this DAO is still very valuable for when we scale, even though we're not going to be giving the full amount away each week. So sorry, creators, don't get excited that you're going to get a $4 million paycheck in beta.
Right. So we were actually talking off air a little bit about this. Have you started to talk to creatives? We were talking about maybe like the mentorship kind of program. I think people would be interested to hear about that.
Yeah, so that's when we talk about marketing, and I know that there's a perception within crypto. And remember, we're guys that kind of came from outside of crypto and think about PR and marketing in more of a traditional brand sense. So the groups that we're kind of engaging right now and talking to for beta and beyond for getting the word out there, the strategy is more revolved around how do we inspire the established creators to be a part of this project as well as the up and coming, right? So collecting the best projects for people to vote on. But the established creators, I think, will have a heart for this, given that everybody started somewhere. And 2 or 3 of the people I'm talking to right now that have expressed an interest in this project, we're talking about doing some upcoming, like what I call fireside chats, where I can ask them how they got started and what was difficult for them, what inspired them, how do we get through it, and how could this platform have benefited them and other creators want to do. But like we were chatting on right before the stream started, like my vision is that we have, a big name established creative in each of the genres that's kind of the go-to mentor. Yeah. As these projects or these contests are launched, we can have, lots of people that are saying, hey, fill in the blank, and I'm not going to drop any names. They're, they're actually participating in the community in some way.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Very cool. Yeah, it's funny. I've already got a bunch of people in my Discord already saying, how can I be put up for a vote? What does that process look like?
Yeah. So each week, we have our current website, which you've been pulling up here. That's kind of what we call the marketing website or the informational website in the white paper. Under construction right now, which will be what comes out in beta, will be a responsive mobile and desktop website called the DAO site. So the DAO site will kind of have its own educational flow, onboarding flow, which will teach creatives how to submit for a project. So they'll connect their wallet, like you do with a lot of Web3 type sites. It'll determine that you have some Apollo in your wallet, because we just can't have anyone spamming our creative submission channels. If you can imagine what a nightmare that would be if they didn't have to have some kind of stake in the game. So once it recognizes it in there, they'll be able to fill out a basic form that says, here's who I am, give us a little bio, link to your YouTube page or whatever that expresses your medium the best for people to evaluate. And then the system generates them a dynamic link that they could share in the social worlds. So then they go out to their friends and family. They come into our Telegram saying, hey, this is who I am. I want to start talking. This is my project. Please vote for me. And then the creator or the voting flow goes to the same site, where then each of those projects will be listed, where people could either search through them or link right to their profile from that creator link, review their project, connect their wallet, and vote for them.
Very cool. And we were actually talking off air too, that there's a recruitment of creators starting next week too, right?
Yeah. So our community outreach team came to me with an idea yesterday, and it's pretty exciting because they've been down at South by for the last week, South by Southwest down in Austin. And they're like, man, we did this working, saw this group that was working with a motion picture studio that pasted all these posters everywhere and said, we're going to do this activation where we just put up the logo and maybe one tagline and a QR code, which will drive people to kind of learn about the project and start to recruit them to be participants in the contest. Because that's one thing that we really want to roll out over the next week, is the form that will allow people to kind of pre-register so we can kind of see what we're dealing with in beta. And that will help us refine that algorithm for the prize amount to kind of get a sense of how many people are interested in participating. And while you develop in a bubble, you don't know that until you start asking people. So, even though we're like 5 weeks or 6 weeks out, potentially, we want to get that process rolling next week.
Very cool. And everybody out there listening, all the links are down below in the description. So for the Telegram, the Discord, the website, the Twitter page. So if you're interested in any of that, it's all down below in the description. You could just click and go right to it. And also, anybody out there who has a question, keep those rolling in. We'll be happy to address those here on stream. So I think there was something else you were talking in regards to working on engagement with a marketing or firm for post beta launch. And somebody was actually asking about that as well in chat.
Yeah, so we started those, or we already have started those conversations with some of the groups that we've worked with in the past. And that's really what I was mentioning, focusing on how do we attract the most creators possible. I've seen a lot of stuff that I don't really necessarily agree with happening on the marketing front or the PR front in crypto so far. We just haven't chosen to, obviously we've been very transparent, you and I both, about this. Like I don't pay influencers. I don't pay for call channels. I just don't think that might have the ultimate benefit to us for our particular project long term, right? I think for us, it's more about connecting with the people that are going to use the product, the people that are going to really be passionate about engaging and potentially winning here. And then we have some grand ideas coming up centered around potential support of advertisers and things like that. Once we scale this thing out to a full blown platform and maybe native app, where we can do some interesting things that will benefit the entire community from that. And then we haven't even really touched on the next follow-up after the 2.0 DAO, called 2.1, is all centered around incentivizing voters. So while we're obviously helping creators in the ecosystem, the long-term prize helps the investors, but the other stakeholders, the voters, what helps them. You can think of things like staking, you could think of things like that, but every time you participate, we want to reward people for engaging in the ecosystem. So that's what the development team will roll on to pretty fast right after we get the base platform out, is how do we reward voters for participating in the ecosystem as well.
Very nice. Yeah, and you guys are also working on a video. Is it a Meet the Devs video, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
So putting engineers on film is fun. I don't envy the post-production team, because they got their hands full from that. But we shot all that footage yesterday, and they're hard at work at that right now. But just to kind of do, we've done some of these AMAs, but how do you cut it into something that gets the key points across? And on that too, our web team just released a great FAQ that's connected on the homepage of our website, from things that we've been collecting that's something that, as we get questions, we try to update this pretty regularly and answer that. But this is kind of more of a visual get to know us, and we can answer some of the top questions through that format as well.
Very nice. So I'm going to see if there's anything in chat that we missed. I think we hit on this one kind of in terms of their marketing strategy. They're looking at advertisers for the future, but I think you guys are taking an organic approach, right? I mean, is that the correct way to explain it?
I'm sorry, for the on the marketing side.
On the marketing side, I mean, it's almost like the holders are kind of helping each other grow, and it's kind of an organic approach. I mean, similar to like a Shiba Inu, really.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's worked great so far. I don't think that's the end all be all in terms of marketing, and I don't want anyone to get that misconception. I mean, I've just stated from the beginning that until we have a product, we're just marketing an idea. And I think the abuse of marketing an idea is rampant in crypto right now. And I just don't want to be lumped in with that. And I know that's hard, because people are just like, man, my metric is the price, and that's what I want to see. And we're just not, we know where we'll be when we create the right product. And to me, it's like organic is great. I don't discourage anyone for being part of the community. And that's what decentralization is all about, right? If you want to market this thing, go market it. Do what you got to do. That we depend on that for your channel. Like we're only one entity in this, a very important one, albeit, but we're focused on building an ecosystem of the product. And when the product is done and we have something to talk about and people can immediately participate in it, that's when we'll pull out all the stops to really drive home that. But like I said, it'll be done more. I'm not saying we won't ever do call channels if there's ones that make sense and is hitting the right demographic and is targeted. Absolutely. But not until the product's out. And when we start the product, it's going to be focused more on those strategic, creative solicitations, like I said.
Yeah, I mean, the call channels that exist now are designed to pump a project. And will it last? Does it last? You never know. But I think you guys are taking the approach of, let's grow this thing organically. Let's let the DAO do the talking, if you will, right? And I respect that. Hopping over to the price action, though, I got to ask you this. So I know it's not the end all be all, but like, as the head dev, do you have like a market cap in mind? Like, do you set a goal for like, hey, I want to get to this at this time frame, or is that
you're trying to get me in trouble again, Zach?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, of course, we look at things and what we think the potential of them can be, and we don't get into things that we don't think could be big. We've done too many things in our careers and worked with too many great projects to say we want to get into this thing because we're happy with $100 million market cap. We're not. Like that's we're not even at the start line as far as I'm concerned, and that's probably where I'll leave that conversation. All I'll say is you've seen what the community-driven cryptos have done in terms of market cap. While they're still working, very diligently on getting their products out. It's hard for me to see how we don't line up with that kind of mentality. Now, there's a lot of factors when you talk about the market, the Fed, the geopolitical type of things that we have to work through. But again, like I'm a big believer is like you have to put all that stuff on the side, and the product does what it's going to do. That's what's going to draw people long term into this. But you're going to have up and downs between them because some people, that's what they want to participate in. They want to take margins. They want to take some profits and get in and out and do what they got to do. And we appreciate the reflection. We appreciate the burn, and we would love to have you back when, the product launches, if that's what you need to do.
Right. We've got a few questions out there, and everybody out there, please keep your questions rolling in. Kyle F's got one. Do you see yourself listed on Coinbase one day?
I think if that's the platform that draws more people interested in our utility, absolutely. I think it's a great platform. I use that platform as one of my exchanges. Would love to have a relationship with them when the time is right. And my understanding is, that's one of the few that we talked about at the beginning that takes a lot of due diligence and takes a lot of time, and you have to prove yourself. And I would be a little worried if Coinbase came knocking on my door right now. I think we got a few things to do before they would be interested, but certainly wouldn't turn down a conversation there.
Here's another one from Chris. With different pools on exchange, if one goes up or down, it doesn't affect the other one, ? Is it better to hold the token in different pools?
Yeah, I really can't speak to what you decide to do in exchange. I will say the difference is between a centralized exchange and a decentralized exchange is, the value is going to live independently in each of those ecosystems when you talk about the market cap and the price. Now, when you want to participate in the voting and the awards that will come for voters down the road, it will need to be in a decentralized wallet or something that you can connect to our Web3 site, which the exchanges, just the way that they're structured, don't have that functionality. So it depends on what you're in the token for. I mean, there's obviously going to be different price points of entry, ease of entry on centralized exchanges, but fully participate in what we're doing here, it'll need to be on, something like a Trust Wallet or MetaMask, Coinbase DeFi wallet, something like that.
Gotcha. Hey, I saw this Twitter account was created, Apollo Inu News and Updates. Was this somebody just in the community? It's really cool, actually. I started following it.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
I saw it yesterday for the first time.
Pretty neat.
I thought it was pretty impressive. I mean, this kind of leans into exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, this person just decided, you know what, I just want to be a great ecosystem to what's happening in some of the socials and extract it more into Twitter, which we all know I'm notoriously bad in trying to get better at Twitter. So I guess I appreciate the idea of the community stepping up and doing something on this front for sure.
I will say this though, Twitter can be a toxic place, man. So maybe you got to figure it out to just hang out in TG. Speaking of TG though, you dropped kind of a bombshell the other day. This idea right here.
Oh yeah.
This is really cool. So yeah, I mean, I'm pumped just reading this. So I love the idea.
You know what? It just, maybe I'm caught up in like all the Dubai talk and stuff right now, but to me, it's like I get excited about the fact that this is, a potential to bring creatives together and talk about their challenges, how crypto, Web3, blockchain can help them solve those. So centering around kind of a content event for education on crypto for creatives, maybe even awarding some projects over the year. They start simple. We've done dozens of these types of events through Bottle Rocket and through other businesses I've been in. We've hosted giant things at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. Like, could we put together a simple event in Dallas that, it's called 100 people show up to later this year, and we kick this thing off. I have a story like I don't remember how many years ago it was. It was probably 2006, 2005, but I was at South by Southwest looking for a good 3D engine to use for a project we were developing, and came across all the big guys that wanted like $60,000 license fee and then pay them a royalty for every use of the game or what, something like that. Finally found this little booth in the back corner with these three guys that were kind of shilling their beta software and said, you know what, we're just getting started, but we think this is going to be a cool platform. And I was like, what's your price point? And said, we'll give you the whole thing for $200. I said, all right. So now we're talking. It said, well, we're going to have a dev meetup, or our first, what they called it, a conference in San Francisco this weekend. If you want to come out, that's great. And I thought, you know what, if we're going to do this, I got to learn it. So I flew out to San Francisco. They weren't ready. I helped set up chairs all throughout the thing. And there's about 25 of us. And fast forward, that was the first Unity Unite conference, which is now the biggest game engine development platform in the world by far,
Wow.
and has tens of thousands, if not more, participants each year at their conference. But I love that story because it's like, yeah, we can have people come and set chairs up in Dallas and, have a conference and see where it goes. Because I think people want to talk about crypto, they want to learn, and they want to, get into DAOs and understand how the community can be influential and instrumental in helping grow, the future for everyone.
This kind of reminds me of like they're doing a Shiba Con, right? And I know you and I have both that connection with Shiba Inu. It kind of took the crypto space by storm. I mean, really.
Right.
And I think the whole thing that they've centered around was the community driven ideas and letting communities kind of within the Shiba Inu ecosystem build out their own thing. So they're doing a Shiba Con thing out in Vegas, and it's like two guys who were event coordinators out in Vegas, but they both were Shiba Inu investors, did really well, want to do good for the community. So like I could see something similar happening with Apollo down the line as this thing continues to grow. People kind of just take it upon themselves, like, hey, we're doing a meetup over here. Like, okay, and then next year we're doing it over here. And it's really cool to watch that kind of unfold. And one of the good things about crypto I see is that, man, it's just like people coming together from all walks of life for one common goal. I guess there's not a question there, but it was just kind of a comment.
Yeah. No, I see. I'd love eventually for there to be like weekly meetup groups for creatives to say, what's a project maybe we go in together on to try and win the creator prize fund for the week or something like that. Or, things like that really get me excited because it's all about people working together at the end of this idea, right?
For sure. Yeah. And I think it's cool that you're leaving the door open too, right? For people to kind of throw their opinions out there. Cause a lot of these communities, they're not as decentralized as you would think, right? They're pretty top down. It's like, hey, this is kind of what we're doing. If you like it, good. If you don't, get out. Where like this seems like it's more like open floor, open dialogue.
It's a hard balance because people want the security and the leadership that's associated with centralization and the responsibility, but they want to be participatory and have it. So that we're navigating that and trying to find out what the right boundaries are. But it'll always win in terms of the community. That's what this type of project is. That's why we launched it the way we launched it, right? Is the idea of like, we want everybody's input on where it goes. And technically speaking, anyone can propose new DAO code to evolve it. I mean, that's just what a DAO is, right? But I think if you build trust with them and provide good leadership and make good on your promises, then it all works the way it's supposed to. And everybody trusts the leadership, but they also feel empowered to step up and lead in their own way within that.
We've got one coming in from RMR. This one comes up a lot, man. Of course, the Saitama community is really big, but Saitamask, planning on getting on Saitamask anytime in the future.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Coinbase answer, to be honest with you. I mean, those guys, like I said, I participated in their community. I will say I know it's very difficult to develop and launch a software product. Those guys are keep charging at it and, keep working really hard. And I think it's awesome. And I think if there's an opportunity where the people that are participating in Apollo say that this is where we want it, we're listening and happy to have that conversation.
Definitely. So yeah, your pop's out in Dubai. He was telling me earlier that a lot of the projects out there are great, but I mean, this is coming right from him that he doesn't see them, being like Apollo Inu and what you guys are building. How does that make you feel?
Oh wow, that makes me feel good. Yeah, I don't know. It was a hard decision. I mean, obviously we looked at Dubai, and it just really came down to focus right now. With April looming, we just want to make sure we get things right on that front and hold to the standard of delivering on time in terms of our commitments. And just felt like that might be a little too distracting. And we're kind of new to the space, right? Some of those other players that have been out there are a little more established, but whether it's ApolloCon later this year or whether it's, a handful of other events, we definitely plan on participating in the broader community in terms of, talks, engagements and trade shows and things like that.
You've talked about you and Zach. Do you guys have any other people that kind of are helping you out in different areas that you like contract in, or like how does that work?
Yeah, most of our staff, we've always built businesses. I mean, well, from time to time, if we know them, having a relationship with a contractor, will work. We like to build things internally organically because we spend a lot of hours in the day together and having to sync on things. But right now, our team is about 8 people. So, obviously, for various reasons, we're not going to dox everyone. We thought it was important to dox the main leadership, but we have a team working on what we call community outreach, which is the video type stuff, some of the marketing, that activation stuff down in South by Southwest. We have, design and web development, the guys responsible for the website, and then the engineering core that Zach manages on the product side, and then operations, which is more of HR, finance, helping with some of the other relationship stuff with exchanges, legal, things like that.
One of the big questions looks like that comes up: are you planning on collaborating with other coins? And I know you guys said you guys don't have any current plans now, but like, what would a partnership with another project even look like? I mean, could you have you thought about that?
Haven't thought a lot about it, but I think there always is opportunity for complementary, type of projects. If anyone's in the space of, for us, the big thing is, okay, how is everybody winning in your ecosystem? If that is the mentality that's shared there, and there's a way that we bring more awareness and attention to both tokens, completely open to that.
Cool. Bucks Go Down wants to know, any swag yet for sale?
Yeah, that's actually on the Trello board as well. And I'll take the hit for delaying, because I'm supposed to be getting artwork to a couple different groups right now to start that. I've seen some, again, community driven. I saw a couple people selling shirts in the Discord, I think, on like Cafe Express or something like that. And they look pretty nice. I probably will order one, that kind of thing. But yeah, apparel, things like that. It's just been not the focus of the team that would normally be responsible for that, because they're more about getting ready for the beta launch.
So Crypto Rich, I just want to make sure this is clear. Matt is the founder of the project, so he is fully doxing himself. He's done multiple AMAs and things like that. So I guess you could speak a little bit to that. Like, why doesn't everybody dox? I mean, I guess people would think about that. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think if you compare it to, I get the point, and that was important for us to do, and maybe we will at some time. So there's a couple reasons why that conversation exists. Is one, like in the traditional web development or the mobile development world, I mean, there's generally not a sense of consumer finance involved, where things, whether in or out of your control, drive prices up and down, and it's very personal and to people, right? Even when it's something that necessarily is an effect of the team. But it's a crazy world sometimes, as you know. So I mean, there's a protectionary mechanism to it for sure, and then there's just a leadership and focus type of thing. Like, if every person was there, would they be on socials every day enjoying the tons of accolades, or defending themselves or whatever it might be, as opposed to focusing on the project? I don't want that either, right? I mean, they have a job to do, and I think typically that's why you have PR people within organizations, or marketing people that are that front facing, or the CEO front facing entity of the company that represents the message and the brand of everyone. And that's really where Zach and I have kind of landed at this point. But we give the option to everyone, if they want to step forward at some point, that's up to them. But it's a very personal decision. And, we live in a world that lives behind screen names and usernames anyway. So what is truth in the world that we live in? I don't know.
As long as you have an avatar now, right?
Yeah. I guess so, man. I'm about as real and boring as you get, though. So this is everything.
Hey, man. You guys are doing a great job. Speaking
Thanks.
of Zach, though, I know you guys mentioned that, mentioned how hard he's working. Man, I was super impressed. I've only heard him talk. I think it was on Hanak and Your Pop's AMA on Twitter, the Twitter space. Man. And I know he's a pretty young guy. Super impressed by him. How did you meet him?
Yeah, so he was actually an intern at Bottle Rocket.
Okay.
So during his final year of college at UT, He came in and worked as an Android developer on the Southwest Airlines team. So he was writing all the code. I think it was maybe some kind of parking assist system or something on the American Airlines or the Southwest Airlines app. Just sharp. I mean, we had lunch a couple of times just as a mentorship type relationship on that front because I ran innovation at the time and he had a lot of big ideas, and you could just tell he was someone that needed to be inspired by something big and have a big challenge. And I don't want to speak too much to his story, but he came out of college, got a job at Citi, and started working for Citi on the engineering front and management front, and just wasn't really inspired. Just felt like projects would get started and then someone up top 10 more levels above him would make a decision to exit and say, sit in your cube for 4 weeks. We'll tell you what you do next.
Yep.
And so we reconnected during that time. And I was like, man, I don't want to take you from safe to absolutely terrified, but I do absolutely terrifying stuff. So if you're ready for that,
right,
then let's go. And he said, without a doubt, not a hesitation. He goes like, let's figure it out. And he helped lead the fitness type apps and a couple of our key games, and then obviously here on the contract side as well.
I don't want to make this about like corporate America, but I agree, man. So many people in corporate America are just miserable, man, and they just can't let their creative juices flow without somebody kind of putting an axe to it. But this is kind of a question. I know you've addressed this before. Why Inu? I know you talked about this before too.
Yeah. No, I see the comment there. I mean, we taken some flack for the idea of like, is that just a copycat? And no, to me, I've mentioned it's more like a badge of honor. And I know some people relate it to, scams or whatever that happens in the industry. I don't know. But, that's how I learned, is investing in the Shiba Inus and the Saitamas and things like that, and understanding how their great communities were built around what I call, the Inu culture. And, it's wild and it's crazy and it's hype filled, but there's something exhilarating about it too, right? They've obviously proven, much like the guys did with GameStop or AMC, that there's disruption just bottled up, ready to happen in the financial and crypto space. And I love that. I want to tap into it. So really, one, I actually legitimately have a dog. Apollo is my dog's name.
It's on the
border collie. That's on the logo. So I feel like I have a right to use Inu because it's a fully doxed live dog. But two, more than that, like we talked about, it's just like I appreciate everything that Saitama and Shiba have done to kind of lead the way as innovators in the space.
Definitely. Let's see here. There was another question I wanted to pop to. Actually, this is an interesting question, and I love this because this is what you get when you're talking about crypto. We're so new, right? 4% of the population's in. Everybody's got questions. So, Matt, I'm gonna throw this to you, man. Can someone explain to SD the nature and benefit of cryptocurrency and if it's worth investing in just as a whole? I love it, man. I think there's a lot of people asking this.
Yeah, I mean, I think to look towards Bitcoin, whether Bitcoin or some kind of national currency, digital currency, which has been discussed, ends up becoming what the store of value, or basically what you're going to use at Target to purchase things with.
Right.
It's probably going to be one of those two. So the confusion, I think, lies in these altcoins and things like that. I always tell people, well, imagine like you've gone to Chuck E. Cheese or something like that, and you put the dollar bill in the token machine and it gives you 4 or 5 tokens. But the whole point is to use their use case, which is their games.
Right.
Then the value exchanges from the coins to the tickets. So it's about fueling, different ecosystems that have different values for people to participate in. It's no different than like Kohl's Cash or something like that you get for spending a certain amount at a retail store. So its value is really inherent in the use case and what people want to pass around. And some it's just completely like a Dogecoin or something. There's not really a use case, but the power is the community proving it could do something and that it could establish a value in something that represents a culture, which I think has power and has been kind of brushed to the wayside maybe a little bit as a joke or things like that, but they're not looking deep enough to understand it's about the motivations of people and the power of what they can activate together to make happen. That's the true revolution here.
So true, man. And then I even look back to SHIB and it's like they really never had a use case, but now they've grown this community and now they're building out the use case. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it can go a lot of different ways. I mean, community, I think, is the common denominator, though. I mean, you have to have that strong community. Would you say? I mean,
Oh,
without
100%.
that, yeah.
And having been in game development for years, we've kind of seen both routes. And that's why I started going to these YouTube brands to say, hey, how can we partner together so I could build a game? Well, they already had 10 million subscribers on their channel, right? So that's why I always called it solving for why. I could build X, but how do I solve for Y, right?
Yeah.
So like with this journey, it's like, that's all we've had to say. It's just like, we might not be experienced or good at it, but we need to build community, because at the end of the day, it's just like, if you have people all rowing in the same direction, you're going to succeed.
Yep, for sure. Ivan's got one. Did I miss on when the Meet the Team video is going to drop? He's excited.
Yeah, no date on that. We just filmed it yesterday, so it's all just rough stuff that needs to be cut up, and probably a bunch of misspoken things that I've said that need to be edited out, and some dubbing and things like that. Some B-roll to put some other voiceover over, stuff like that. So I'd give it a couple weeks from that team, but we're just trying to line a lot of things to come up so we can have kind of that big push centered around the beta. But I think that could be out before then. I don't have a date for that out yet.
Iverto, this guy's in my Discord. Great guy, out of the UK. He says, "Are you building a game, Zach? Matt needs to hit me up." He's in the video game industry as well.
Cool.
So I think he's worked on some pretty big games too. If I'm
well,
not,
I've been building games, like I said, since I was about 8 years old. So games will always be in my blood.
Yep.
But it's a hits-driven business. It's a tough business. I think there's a natural correlation to what we've already built in East Edge with these other YouTube brands, because they have the big audiences and they are creators in their own rights. So I think they could be some of those leaders that are, passionate about supporting our project and what we're doing here. But what I didn't want to do when we started this journey is say that we're doing everything. Oh yeah, we have a full-on NFT strategy. Oh yeah, we're doing play to earn games. Oh yeah, we're doing blah blah blah. It just doesn't seem realistic how you're going to ever deliver it. Like I've always admired the idea of like how Amazon built their platform. It's just like fundamental problem. How do we get books in the hands of consumers, right? They weren't thinking about building the world's general store at that time. They were thinking about how to solve that one simple problem. Well, that's what we're trying to do here. And then it'll come to light in terms of, oh, here's how NFTs fit deeply into the strategy. And you could already probably extrapolate some pretty straightforward ideas of how that works, or here's how games fit into that space as well. But yeah, there's no doubt at some point in this journey that we will do something with crypto and games. It will happen.
Yeah, Iverto says he works at EA at the moment, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a pretty good game studio.
Yeah. We hit on this one earlier, but product launch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the plan right now is mid to late April where we'll release beta. So it's in alpha testing with selected individuals and test nets and things that we're just beating the hell out of it, basically, to make sure that when it gets out there that we can accommodate for any scene problems. Obviously, in software that gets deployed at scale, there will always be little things here and there, but we've done this for years. We know how to do this part of the process. So when we release it, I think it's going to be pretty robust. I see, 2, maybe 3 beta cycles going, which I said at the beginning might have some stricter parameters while we learn the participation level and we learn how much that we want to give out for each contest. It's kind of like these people that are going to jump in the water and vote and then participate first. It's great. We'll do something cool and creative for them, whether it's, some exclusive NFT types. We've got a lot of ideas right there for how we're going to incentivize participation to get us started. But, I think then you have a full product, on the rails and going hard in May. But it'll start in April. We're stuck to that commitment. So the first artists and creatives will be receiving funding in April.
Nice. Well, we're coming up on the top of the hour, man, but I always like to ask, did I miss anything? Did I not ask something? Is there something that you definitely wanted to hit on?
Yeah, I'm just going through my notes right here. We talked about, I'm kind of excited about this is the nerd in me, the burn percentage and the rate. And you think about, that at scale when we have lots of contests going on and lots of people, participating, voting, awards being distributed, and just, lots of volume now going through the token. I think that's going to be a really interesting number because we started with I think in this space, a relatively low supply. And so, with
that's about to hit 8%.
Yeah, 8% of circulating supply burned already. So,
Yep.
Anything beta launch? We talked about that. Exchanges, percentage, community support. Love our community. I can't say that enough.
Yep.
They've been amazing. Yeah, man, I think we've covered up on quite a bit of it. I mean, no details on ApolloCon yet. I got to talk to the man in charge. He had a photo shoot last week for some new, headshots. The dog. So
I love it, man.
At least
That's
we'll have
cool.
some updated photos for whatever that's worth.
Yep, that's cool. That's cool. Got to start him an Instagram if he doesn't have one already.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh man. Hey, enjoyed it. Hopefully everybody else did as well. Matt, you're welcome back anytime on the channel. Anytime we have anything going on with Apollo, be happy to host and bring everybody up to speed, man.
Awesome.
Keep up the great work, and really looking forward to the future.
Appreciate it, Zach. Appreciate your show as always.
All right. Take care, everybody. We will see you next time. I'll be back early tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern for a live stream. So be back then. Good night, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you are. And see you all very soon.